friends, Chubby Meeple back with another Kickstarter preview. Today we're going to take a look at Sheep Boom Ba. Now this is a tile laying sheep herding game for 2 to 4 players, designed by Bob and Ryan Craig and published by One Day West Games. Let's jump to the table, give you a brief overview of how this game plays. We'll see if you can get your sheep out of the field once they've wandered into an active minefield. Get them back to your barn and score the most points to take victory. Let's jump to the table, I'll show you how it plays, and then I'll come back and give you my thoughts. Setting up for a game of Sheep Boom Ba is based on player count. In a 2-player game, as we're going to set up for the purposes of this video, we will use 2 barn tiles, and it's important to make sure that the barn tiles being used match the player colors being used as well. So in this case, we would have yellow and green. If you're playing with 3 players, you'll use 3 barn tiles and 4 barn tiles in a 4-player game. For our 2-player game, we're going to use 15 of the safe field tiles. These tiles are safe for the sheep to cross into without any kind of danger, and also will score a victory point when they are revealed. So we will use 15 of those. We'll also use 15 of those in a 3-player game as well. Also for our 2-player game, we're going to use 8 of the landmine tiles. The landmine tiles are the tiles you wish to avoid. However, they can also be diffused by cards, and we'll see that in a little bit. For a 3-player game, you will use 7 landmine tiles. You'll also use 7 landmine tiles in a 4-player game. So again, to recap, for our 2-player game, we're going to use 2 barn tiles, 15 safe field tiles, and 8 landmines. Arrange the set of 25 tokens that you've collected based on player count into a 5x5 grid as shown here. Then place the 24 start tiles around the perimeter of your 5x5 grid. This will complete the setup of the field that will be used during gameplay. Each player will select a player color and take the corresponding player board, 6 sheep in their chosen player color, and 1 white sheep scoring marker, which is placed on the 0 of the score track on their player board. The first player is chosen based on who does the best sheep impression, or it can be done randomly, and beginning with the first player, play will proceed clockwise around the table. Beginning with the first player and proceeding clockwise, each player will place 1 of their colored sheep on one of the start tiles on the parameter of the field. This will continue until all sheep have been placed on starting tiles. You are now ready to begin Sheep Boom Ba. Gameplay in Sheep Boom Ba takes place over a series of turns. Beginning with the first player and proceeding in clockwise order, each player will take 2 actions on their turn. The 2 actions that are available to players are to move a sheep onto a field tile, whether that tile is revealed or not, or to move a sheep from your barnyard to your barn on your player board. Let's take a look at these 2 actions in a little bit closer detail. To move one of your sheep, you will simply select a sheep and move that piece to an adjacent tile in any direction, moving 1 tile at a time. Sheep can move onto an adjacent tile 1 at a time in any direction. If the tile you land on has not been revealed, flip that tile. If it is revealed, then you can safely move on to that field tile. Sheep cannot move from the field to a start tile unless a card allows them to do so. Sheep also cannot move from a start tile to another start tile. The same sheep can be moved twice in 1 turn using both of your available actions. No 2 sheep can share the same field tile. If a sheep moves onto a tile that is already occupied by another sheep, the moving sheep will push the stationary sheep forward. This movement is known as bumping, and we'll discuss that in further detail as well. The yellow player decides to move this sheep 1 tile, moving onto this tile here. As this tile is not revealed, the first thing we need to do is flip that tile over and reveal it. We'll flip that tile over, and we have hit a landmine tile, which is not good for our sheep to have hit. When you hit a landmine tile, you have the opportunity to defuse that landmine if you have a card that allows you to do so. You also have the ability to potentially move that sheep off of that tile back to a start space, also if you have a card to do so. If you do not have the ability to rescue that sheep, then your sheep is simply placed, it is removed from the field and placed in your graveyard, and the landmine tile gets replaced with a safe to cross tile. This tile is now safe to move into and will not cause further harm to any additional sheep. There are 3 types of tiles that could be revealed when you move a sheep onto the field tiles. One of those we just saw, the landmine. A second tile that could potentially be revealed is, if I move a sheep in here and I flip this tile over, I could simply find a safe field tile. When uncovering a safe field tile, my sheep simply remains in that tile, and I will also score 1 point when the tile is revealed. So I will move my white sheep score marker up 1 on my score track. This tile now is completely safe to cross for any sheep that cross it. However, moving into the tile now that it has been revealed is not worth any additional points. The third type of tile that could be revealed when a sheep moves is a barn tile. When a barn tile is revealed, the player who revealed it will score 3 points according to the point value printed. So in this case, our green player would move up the score track 3 places. And the sheep that moved onto that tile is immediately moved into the barn of that matching color. So in this case, the green sheep has been moved into the green barn for scoring purposes at the end of the game if it still happens to be there. It is important to note that had this green barn tile been revealed by our yellow player, the yellow sheep that revealed it would have been moved into the barn, even though the barn belongs to the other player. Those are the 3 types of tiles that you'll find as you're exploring the field: landmines, safe field tiles, and barn tiles. When moving your sheep, it is possible to bump another player's sheep or even one of your own sheep into an adjacent tile. When bumping occurs, let's say this green player is taking their turn and opts to move into this particular tile where this yellow sheep is standing. The green player would move into this tile, and it would push the yellow player in the same direction of the movement, 1 tile. Because this new tile that the yellow sheep has been pushed into has not been revealed, it is revealed as normal. So we flip this tile over to find a safe field tile, and that will score the point for the yellow sheep that actually revealed the tile, even though the green player made the movement. Bumping sheep around is a great way to move your opponents off of tiles that you want to occupy. It's also can be useful to push them into landmines if you happen to know where a landmine is through use of card play, for example. You could push your opponent's sheep onto the landmine, causing them to explode and send to the graveyard, being worth negative points at the end of the game. Some important things to note about bumping. A sheep can be bumped onto another player's revealed barn tile, sending that sheep to that player's barn. A sheep cannot be bumped onto a start tile, either directly or through a bump chain reaction of multiple sheep bumping into each other. Sheep that are bumped onto a tile that's not been revealed will be forced to reveal the tile and resolve the effects. So again, they will score points, they will move to a barn, a barnyard, or potentially even a graveyard. If a player's sheep is bumped, they do have the ability to play a card out of turn, such as the Hero of the Herd card or the Ambalance, that can help them avoid sending their sheep to the graveyard if they do hit a landmine. And then the player will draw back up to 4 cards if they do end up playing a card out of turn. The second action that a player can choose to take on their turn is to move a sheep that is located in their barnyard into their barn, scoring more points at the end of the game, provided that sheep is still in the barn. These 2 actions, moving sheep from field tile to field tile, or moving a sheep from a barnyard to a barn, are the 2 available actions. You must take 2 actions, and you can use one of those actions twice to consume your 2 actions. So you could move one of your sheep 2 spaces, you could move 2 separate sheep, you could move 1 sheep from a field tile to another field tile, and then use your second action to move a sheep from your barnyard to your barn. In addition to these 2 actions, you may choose to play or discard any number of cards from your hand that you wish. Playing cards simply means showing the card to the other player, resolving its action, and then placing it in the discard pile. At the end of your turn, after you've taken your 2 required actions, you simply draw back up to a hand of 4 cards. Card play and actions can occur in any order, so you can take 2 actions and then play all 4 of your cards if you would like. You could play your cards and then take your 2 actions. You could also take an action, play a couple of cards, and then take your second action before drawing back up to 4 cards. Once you've drawn back up to your 4 cards, play moves to the player to your left in clockwise order, and will continue until one player has removed all 6 of their sheep from the field, either through card actions, returning them to their barn, or having them blown up by landmines. Once a player has removed all 6 of their sheep from the field, the other players will each take one more turn, and then end-game scoring will commence. At the end of the game, you may have something that looks like this, where you have all of the sheep off of the map. Though that's not terribly likely, you'll generally only have one player who's removed all of their sheep from the board. Again, once a player has removed all of their sheep from the board, the remaining players will take one more action, and then the game is over. It is important to note that if a player's last sheep gets bumped into a barn out of turn, then that player will still have one more turn before the end of the game. Players then add up their points. Scoring is done as follows. You get 1 point for each card of your player color that is left in your hand. This includes the Wild Wool card. You will earn 1 point for each sheep in your barnyard, regardless of color. So our yellow player here would earn 2 points, even though they have a green sheep in their barnyard. Our green player would earn 3 points, even though 2 of the sheep in their barnyard are yellow. So again, we simply would move these scores up on the tracks appropriately. Players will then each score 2 points for each sheep that is in their barn that belongs to another player. So our yellow player would earn 2 points for this green sheep that is in their barn. And our green player would earn 2 points for the yellow sheep that is in their barn. Players then earn 3 points for each sheep in their barn that belongs to them. So our yellow player would earn 3 points for the yellow sheep in their yellow barn. And our green player would earn a total of 6 points because they have 2 sheep in their player color in their barn. So we'll add 6 points to the green player. Players then lose 1 point for every sheep in their graveyard. So our yellow player will lose 1 point for having a sheep in the graveyard, and our green player would also lose a point for having a sheep in the graveyard. The player with the highest score wins the game. In the case of a tie, the player with the most sheep in their barn wins. If there's still a tie, the game plays quick enough you can play a tiebreaker. And this is Sheep Boom Bah. The cards in Sheep Boom Bah really switch up the gameplay and allow really unpredictable things to happen as the game goes on. Let's take a quick look at the cards that you may find in your hand as you play Sheep Boom Bah. First, we have Abacadabra. This card allows you to move a sheep from another player's barnyard into your barn directly. Next, we have the Ambulance. The Ambulance card is a card that allows you to avoid your sheep going to the graveyard. What this means, after you land on a landmine tile, you move the sheep back to any unoccupied start tile. This card can be played out of turn as well. So if someone bumps you into a landmine, you have the ability to play the Ambulance and move your sheep to an unoccupied start tile instead of to your graveyard. The next card we'll take a look at is Back to Life. That's right. This allows you to move a sheep from your graveyard back to an unoccupied start tile, and I absolutely adore the zombie sheep artwork on this card. We have the Barn Burner. The Barn Burner allows you to move a sheep from another player's barn into your barnyard. We then have the Dog. The Dog moves one of your sheep from a field tile to your barnyard, so this is a great way to pull sheep out of the field into your barnyard to score those in-game points. We have the EI No card. This stops a player from using a card on their turn. Your EI No card can also be played out of turn if players are playing cards against you. So it's basically the popular Nope card. The Fox card allows you to move a sheep from another player's barnyard into your barnyard. The Hero of the Herd. This is the best card for you to have when you land on a landmine tile. When you land on a landmine, you'll actually defuse the landmine. What this means is instead of blowing up and your sheep going to the graveyard, you'll actually get to replace the landmine tile with one of these safety cone tiles. Doing so will score you an immediate 2 points and make that tile safe to cross. More importantly, your sheep will not go to the graveyard. This is another card that can be played out of turn in case you get bumped into a landmine on another player's turn. The Out of Sheer Luck card allows you to move one of your sheep from a field tile directly into your barn. You have the Sheeping Tom. This allows you to secretly look at a field tile so you can suss out those landmines before you move into one unexpectedly, or maybe even set yourself up to push an opponent into a landmine. The shepherd's hook allows you to move a sheep from your barnyard to your barn. While this repeats the action that is available to you on your turn anyway of being able to move a sheep from your barnyard to your barn, playing the shepherd's hook allows you to do so as a card action, which does not eat up one of your 2 actions on your turn. So if I play the shepherd's hook, I get to move a sheep from my barnyard to my barn, and then I can also take one of my actions to move a sheep from my barnyard to my barn, effectively moving 2 sheep. The sheep copter allows you to transport any one of your sheep from one tile to another. That is a revealed tile, an unrevealed tile, or even a start tile. And if you move onto an unrevealed tile, you will of course reveal that tile and resolve its effect. The thank you card allows you to take a card from another player's hand and add it to yours. The tornado card. The tornado moves a sheep from another player's barn to your barn. We have the Wild Wool card. The Wild Wool card, all sheep in your barn count as 3 points. This card gets played next to your player board. So if we play this down next to your player board, at the end of the game, any sheep in your barn are worth 3 points, even if they belong to another player. So it's a great way for this card to score some extra points for you. It also counts as any one of the 4 colors for those end game points that are based on the colors of cards in your hand. And finally, we have Your Barn Doors Open. This moves another player's sheep from their barn into their barnyard. And those are the cards available to you during a game of Sheep Boom Bah. One other important note when looking at the cards is that you will notice that even though these are all the same card, the same Abacadabra action to move a sheep from another player's barnyard to my barn, you'll notice they come in all 4 player colors, red, green, blue, and yellow. And that again is because you get 1 point at the end of the game for every card in your hand that matches your player color. So for our green player, this green Abacadabra card is worth 1 point, and they may want to hang on to that and focus on playing maybe a red or a blue Abacadabra card. And also important to note that regardless of the number of players that you're playing with, you will use all of the cards in a game. So in the game we have here where we have yellow player versus the green player, we will still use all of the red and blue cards. They're simply just not worth points at the end of the game. So that is Sheep Boom Bah. Again, a little tile-laying, sheep-herding game, 2 to 4 players. It plays really well, really fast. I've played this a bunch with my daughters. We really enjoyed it. The first time I asked them if they wanted to play it, they're really hesitant to play prototypes with me because, you know, they kind of, prototypes can be hit or miss. But we sat down, we played it. They wanted to play it again, and then I wanted to do some, a little bit of video work with them, and they were happy to play a third time, all in the first sitting. We've since played it a few more times since then. We've really enjoyed it. Some great laughs have come out of this. You flip over that tile, you hit that minefield, and it just everybody, oh no, and just start laughing immediately. We had one game where my daughter actually put 4 of her 6 sheep on the 4 corners of the start spaces, and then realized she only had, from those pieces, each of those pieces could only literally move into one space because you can't move into any of the adjacent start spaces, so you had to move into the corner of the field. And if any of those were active mines, then she was going to detonate immediately, and 2 of the 4 of those corners happened to be mines, which made us laugh. So it's a fun game, very rules light. You move 1 or 2 of your sheep, flip the tiles to reveal them. You may score some points, you may blow up, and having the card play, being able to play cards to switch that up a little bit so that it's not entirely 100% luck based. There, it adds a little bit of strategy to it, so I can use the Sheeping Tom card, for example, to peek at some tiles. If I see it's a mine, I don't move on there, but maybe I bump your sheep into it, so it adds a little bit of a take that mechanic. There is some take that to this in terms of being able to not only bump other sheep into mines, but being able to take sheep out of other players' barns or barnyards. And other than that EI no card, there's no way to protect from that. So definitely want to keep that in mind if you're playing with younger kids or players who don't really like take that in games. The game might be a little mean for those players. My group loves it. My kids really enjoyed it. We don't mind take that in our games. The kids actually like games that have take that because they can gang up on me, and then it suddenly becomes a 2-on-1 game, even though that's not how the game's designed. That's just how they like to play. But I would definitely, Sheep Boom Bah, because of its light rule set and its fast play time, I would definitely recommend this. Again, this isn't going to be a staple of a game night. This isn't something you're breaking out to play, a long 2-3 hour session of games. This is going to be a game that's going to be done done in 20 to 30 minutes. But it's quick enough. You could play it again if you wanted to. I really have enjoyed that. The artwork in it is super adorable. Alicia Volkman did the art and really did a great job of capturing the lightweight feel of the game itself. It doesn't take itself seriously, and I don't think it should have. I think that was a great design choice, both game design and the art direction, to convey this game as something that's not, we're not being super serious about this and standing by these rules 100%. It's very lighthearted. It's meant to be fun and create laughs, and the art really does that. If I had to pick a favorite art piece, it would be the zombie sheep on the Back to Life card. Just the zombie green sheep with its tongue hanging out. It makes me laugh every time I see it. Definitely check out Sheep Boom Ba. This will be coming to Kickstarter here soon, and you can, when it does hit Kickstarter, I will add a link to the campaign page in the description of this video. If you have questions, drop them in the link below. Happy to answer those as best of my ability. And until next time, keep gaming, friends.